WRPI Troy every Thursday from 11 a.m. till 5 in the summer. And the music you are hearing is Al Jewer and Andy Mitron. Perillion is the name of the album. And we are very happy to have as a returning guest Emma Mardlin, and she wrote the book Breaking Boundaries for a Life Beyond Limits, Out of Your Comfort Zone. Let me tell you, when was the last time you did something that scared you? The last time you really pushed your boundaries, took a risk, and felt you not only bulldozed right through your fear, but in fact used it to propel you forward? Undoubtedly, you will have enjoyed an amazing sense of freedom, allowing you to feel unstoppable and fully absorb life. Now imagine being able to feel this way all the time, because there's nothing to hold you back, not even you. Offering a step-by-step guide to incrementally breaking out of our comfort zone, Emma Mardlin, PhD, equips us with effective working tools to conquer our deepest fears, be they small or big, and harness them to achieve our ultimate goals, establish higher purpose, and to get everything we want in life. An innovative zone test helps us to measure our comfort zone before and after working through the book. Tools such as the intuition indicator and the race technique provide firm guidance and solutions on the way, offering practices to start the journey toward exciting positive change. Dr. M presents the 30-day resilience builder challenges, anxiety buster techniques, practices for indestructible thinking, and baby steps to build confidence. She also explores why we feel fear now in the brain, which foods can cause anxiety, and what the key psychological markers of the fearless zone zero personality are. Finally, a life discovery model designed to uncover what we really want in life allows us to realize the unlimited adventures we can then create as our true reality. Whether you experience an intense irrational fear or phobia that plagues you, look back on a lifetime of anxiety, lack confidence, or seek a deeper self-awareness to create phenomenal change, this guide offers a range of comprehensive resources to help you fully transform your fears, discover your true self, and achieve everything you really want in life. Emma Mardlin, PhD, is a clinical therapist and founding partner in the Pinnacle practice, internationally renowned for her work as an author, trainer, and practicing clinician in London, Harley Street, and Nottingham. Dr. M has profoundly changed the lives of many. Author of the acclaimed Mind, Body, Diabetes Type 1 and 2, and Type 2. She is with us right now, so let us introduce Dr. M. Hello, Em. How you doing?
Hello, Gary. Great to be back on your show. I'm doing very, very well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be back again.
Yeah, really glad that you're back again. And your book has really helped me to discover within myself by taking the test that you have in the book, what I need to improve on, and what I'm pretty good at. So it's called the zone test, and anybody can take. Can they go to your website, or can they only find it in your book?
Well, it's all documented in the book as a hard copy, but absolutely anybody can visit my site, which is all the W's out of your comfort zone.uk, and you can go on there and take the test free, safe and confidential, and it will give you an automatic score and a breakdown of which comfort zone you're currently in at the moment, and what you need to do in a very big picture sense to be able to expand and personally evolve to get to the next level where you want to be at, really. But it's fabulous what you've been doing, Gary, in terms of working through the book yourself, and we had such a great conversation last time, and I think you were so courageous in what you were talking about in our discussion as well, with everything what you've gone through personally in life and being very open about your score. So I can't wait to hear more how you found the book has helped you or pushed you forward in your journey, or encouraged you at least in helping you to do the things you really want to do, and actually whether or not you've taken the zone test again in the interim, and if your scores actually changed or not.
It's interesting, Dr. M, that I remember our conversation and how important it was to me and what I got out of it. And I remember scheduling this interview with the idea that I would go over, take the test again, and the test again, and see how things have changed. I have not done that, unfortunately, and so we're going to find a way to get into this material and to do some more self-evaluation. But I really highly recommend this book to anybody that wants to find out where they are and what is stopping you from being who you are. So we're going to have to be creative here.
Oh, that's it. Do you know, it's actually really interesting from the last time we spoke. Is it more because life's actually just been sweeping you by that you haven't had chance to revisit the zone test?
It really has, and but I can tell you that I've been challenged in life, and I think life is a real test too. I mean, when we get really challenged, but your book helps to for us to see how we process these challenges that come along, how we react to them. What resistance do we have? Um, I recently posted something on Facebook. Are you on? You post on Facebook too?
Yes, but I've not seen any of yours come through. I see what pops up on my phone, so do tell me.
It's interesting. I have so many friends, and I bet you only a small selection of these people actually see my posts, because I think the way the Facebook is set up, that it's only those people that are currently responding, if will get to see them. So I try to include as many of the many friends that I have to get involved in this, because I really want to create dialogue with people, and I really want to stimulate our consciousness, and so I do everything I can. I use Facebook like that, and so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start looking at it. But if I go to, like, for instance, your comments on Facebook and whatever, I start replying to them more often, then I will come up more on your face, as in the comments, and to your posts, and then more likely that you will do that to mine. I find on Facebook, anybody that uses that, you have to really engage before you have to really engage, and then you might wonder, oh, with all my friends, how come I don't get that many responses? I think you have to consciously engage with as many people as possible. Do you find that?
Oh, sure. I think as well, this goes what to I talk about in the book a lot, and I term it as a new age fear in terms of the reaction it causes. But when you're talking about social media, it's a lot of the time done by algorithms automatically, and unfortunately, on a lot of the time, in terms of how popular you are and how many times your post gets seen, comes down to whether you buy the ads or whether you do. I read something the other day about doing a boost button, and it's a complete minefield of things that you can do on it, but usually it comes down to actually knowing kind of insider tricks. So I always think it can lead to a very false reality of what's actually going on. It can become very easy to actually get lost in it a lot of the time. And my point of it leading to a new age fear is that a lot of people, especially a younger generation, don't always realize how much things are fabricated, and they can become so depressed and downhearted or anxious that they don't get X number of likes and they're not looking like the most popular people, when actually it might just be the case that the algorithms aren't bringing up their posts even to people they are connected with. So there's so many different intricacies of it, but certainly I just think sometimes it can really lead to a false reality, and the things that some people might put on it in terms of looking like they live the most glamorous lifestyles or body beautifuls, and the amount of clients I see, especially younger clients, that then have body dysmorphia, and they have these anxieties because they've seen things that are flung around social media, the things that have been paid to be boosted or to get put in the news, and these are the kind of things that worry them because they think that's what they should be like, or they should be that popular. So it's kind of an undercurrent of a general social anxiety that exists. And even on a professional social media like say LinkedIn, you get people putting out there everything that they do and everybody's everything, and it can really lead to a lot of the fears I see in a lot of people, that they're not actually good enough, giving rise to an imposter syndrome, that whatever they do it's never quite enough, because it seems out there today there's so much in terms of information about, and everything's more accessible and easier to do in terms of media. Money talks a lot of the time in terms of that, and in terms of advertising on it, and it really does give this background social anxiety of people feeling they're just not good enough whatever they do, even though their credentials suggest they actually are. So it's something to be very mindful of, even though all the fears and anxieties that we have as people do pertain to individual experiences that we've actually had. We still need to be mindful of what is about generally in terms of a social anxiety by the lives that we all lead today. And it's interesting, as you were saying, Gary, that you haven't had time to do the test because life just sweeps you by, and we don't always have the time to reflect, where that really gives us the empowerment when we do take that time out to then make things right, get on the right path that we need, and get the things we really want in life. Although that can sometimes be a little bit paradoxical, it's important again to be mindful of, because sometimes we have things going on in the background. We even have the news 24/7, again like a doomsday every day. We have Google. How often most of us, or if not all of us, default to Google if we need to know something, or especially in a health context, when we go to Dr. Google and it can be like you're going to die next week because all the symptoms that are there, and so much of this information about the time talking about really gives rise to this background anxiety that people have, because there's so much information and not enough wisdom in terms of what we do with that information, because I do see it in a lot of people causing, as I said, this kind of anxiety in the background of people don't know quite why they're anxious. They may not be anxious people at all, but there's certain things buzzing constantly in the background in today's age. So that's just a small fragment of the book. It's certainly something to be aware of in the background for all of us as well. Nobody's infallible with it, but the more we're actually aware of it, and the more we can attune our focus. So for example, we don't sit and watch the news. We can be aware of the news and aware of global issues that are going on, but we don't focus on it, because the more we give anything our focus and energy, the more it creates more of it. So if we're all focused on the poverty in the world, it actually gives it more energy and creates more poverty, whereas really we need to be focused on the good things we can do about it, helping, with aid and raising money to help, or even addressing the real root cause, which is a political issue, which I won't go into, but I'm sure you can see my point there of all so many topics to actually consider when we're talking about fears and anxieties and what we need to let go of, and how in so many different ways.
Yes, and that is true. And speaking about, for instance, Facebook, I found the sentence. I find that even though I have officially 4,948 friends now, I've been teetering around the 5,000 mark for a long time.
Oh, well done.
Yeah, but but I don't know most of these people.
Yes.
Because that's why whenever I have someone that tells you whose birthday it is,
Yes.
I go to their page, I see if we've interacted in the past, I look at what they're about, so I reestablish them as a friend, or delete them as a friend if I feel they're just there and they're not really adding anything to our conversation. So I have to delete friends in order to make room for more. So that makes me more conscious of who my friends are, and then I need to have personal communication with these people. Eventually, we need to get to know. That's why we're friends. What other reason would we be? That's the way I look at it. We have to be involved with each other somehow. So I really work on that. And Dr. M. And here's what I posted. Um, and this may have something, and I'm saying this because I think it has something to do with our conversation today, and I think it does.
Sure.
Now, the name of your book, Breaking Boundaries for a Life Beyond Limits, it is out of your comfort zone, breaking boundaries for a life beyond limits. And so when we talk about getting out of your comfort zone, I want to, again, look at this deeply on this program today and what it means to each and every person. And you are a perfect person to discuss this with. I really enjoyed our last conversation together last time. You showed so much insight and understanding, and you're wonderful in dialogue, and you're just a marvelous guest. Yes. So I'm really glad that you're with us today, even though I didn't do the test again. I feel that I think we still have something really to talk about and investigate. What I sent on Facebook, a very short sentence, and then let's discuss this. Follow the path of non-resistance and watch your life unfold. Now, my inner teacher came up with that. I feel like there's an inner teacher within me that I open up and it teaches me. So when it's teaching me, it's just not teaching me, it's helping others too. So I want to look at that. Follow the path of non-resistance and watch your life unfold. What does that mean to you?
Thank you for all those lovely words you've just said, and I had a fabulous conversation too, both on and off air last time we spoke. That's a fantastic comment to put. Follow the path of no resistance. I often use the term follow the path of least resistance. That's least no resistance, and watch your life unfold, which is great because sometimes if we're emotionally cleansed, it means trusting in the process of life. So whatever happens, don't basically flap about it. There's no point in actually getting stressed or anxious or depressed about things if at our core we know where we're going in life, and we can trust our blueprint, and we know what our blueprint actually is, and the things we really want from life, and how we can be content inside, in and of ourselves. Then we can follow the path of no resistance. We don't have to fight things. We don't have to put up so much resistance in life. We can essentially go with the flow and trust in the process of life, that our inner guidance radar will take us ultimately to where we need to go. And I think this ties in nicely with, I had an interview with Valeria Tells earlier this week, and she was asking some very interesting questions, and she was actually talking a lot about how when we do have challenges, it's about being grateful for them. So whether we have, and I often say this throughout the book, experiences that are good, bad or indifferent at the time, if we can learn to appreciate those, not go in and resist them and have all the big traumas around it. Yes, expressing negative emotion that we need to, sadness, hurt, guilt and anger, etc. But if we can do that as quickly as possible, get rid of those and learn to actually be grateful for whatever's happening at the time. And this is a real skill, by the way. To do that, then we're not resisting life, we're going with it, because there's always something in those challenges that we can actually take as positive learnings to then help us move on in life. And if we trust that process and we can trust in the process of life, it will take us to where we need to be anyway. So it's a case of being grateful and embracing those learnings that we need to take. So for example, if we don't always get the things we want in life, and that's often a question I get from clients, they'll say, well, I'm doing everything that you've told me to do. I've got the positive focus. I'm really applying the law of attraction, everything I've told them about how the universe works in line with quantum physics. They'll say, I'm doing that, but actually I still haven't got the things I want. And there's reasons for that. It's simply because you might not be ready. There's still learnings to take. So you might still have to go through some curveballs and some challenges and maybe even some harrowing things to actually take positive learnings from, that you can grasp to take forward in life to get you to where you really want to be. So it will happen, and as you say, Gary, with no resistance and least resistance, being grateful for these things and actually being aware enough to take them on board from whatever's happening, you will be able to get on the life path that you want. And yes, watch what happens, because at that point you'll be naturally guided to it. So that's in a nutshell what it means to me. Although you know me, I can go on for hours.
Well, I love what you just said, and I you have always have deep insight, and that I really enjoy. You were very thorough, and you really worked through the depth of the sentence, or the depth of what we were talking about, and you really you're like a miner for truth. You know, you bring it up, and you bring it out. You know, and it's a beautiful thing. I feel like I am too, so I'm following right along with you. You know, I have, you know, it did resonate with a number of people that sentence on a little bit more than some of the other things that I posted. I don't need people to post, you know, to like everything that I put down, and I never, you know, that's why I think that maybe it's the timing. I get more likes or comments. I think it's like the timing, you know, but you never know. All I can do is just put it out. Someone recently called me, and I love this. I don't know whether you know this person. She's from England as well. I may have even asked you the last time, Tracy Ash. You know, she is brilliant, and she has a brilliant mind, and she called me Warrior of Light. Don't you love that?
Yes, yes, I do. That's lovely. Be-
And I kind of agree with that. You know, I mean, I have great passion for getting the truth out. You know, for shedding light on something, for looking. You know, I'm not a person that goes around you know, I'm looking at things. I'm looking at what works. But you know what I'm really enjoying? Life is for growing. Life is for learning and growing and moving forward and conquering the past fears, conquering the things that held you up in the past. When I look at my life, Dr. M, I'm sure you were too, right?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And that's why I loved our conversation last time, because you are naturally, as I said to you at the time, you have an innate positivity about you, and the way, and I love the radio show In the Spirit, and that's just indicative of everything that you said of putting it out there in so many ways of how much, yeah, we are here to grow, we are here to learn, and the moment that we stop growing, the moment life's over, isn't it, really? If you don't see any point in change and any point in growing, how can any of us ever evolve? And it's that process of evolution that's so exciting, in terms of that we can all achieve anything we really want to do. And I love that in you, that you have that about you, and you're always so willing to explore and learn and go on that adventurous journey as to where life might take you. So I'm definitely going to make sure I go on your Facebook post to actually make them come up properly, so we can book the algorithms and we can have some positive stuff going through there, which is fantastic. But I put out myself actually on Facebook the other day about how one of the key markers to an unstoppable mindset, and what's consistent in the mindset of anybody that's really ever achieved anything. So some very successful entrepreneurs, very famous people that have achieved against the odds things that they've wanted, people that have cured themselves when they've told they've got 6 months to live, and people that have really made the so-called impossible possible. And as you know from the book, I've studied these people and looked at the consistent factors that they all have in their mindsets. And what I put out on the face on Facebook with one of these is really an unshakable belief system in whatever you want, whatever you do, and coupled with that passion as well. And certainly you have that yourself, which is what I love, and just what's needed to be able to grow and go through life, that despite whatever's happened. And I remember from our last conversation, you was talking about things that had happened in your past, but you're not willing to let them govern your future. Whereas sometimes people do have things that have happened in the past, traumas, and I guess we've all got a story to tell, and harrowing things have happened to many people. But it's so important to have that mindset where the past does not govern your future and future decisions that you make, and you do have that unshakable belief in anything to really go forward and achieve those things you want, despite whatever happens, despite adversities and challenges. Whenever anybody has that deep core belief system, you can be guaranteed that they will achieve it. I mean, some examples, I know, I'm guessing you're familiar with Warren Buffett, the very successful entrepreneur. I know he said when he was younger, he always knew he was going to be wealthy, and he never doubted it. And then you look at him today and you look at the evidence, and despite adversities, despite challenges, I mean, he actually had a fear of public speaking in the early days. Not that anybody would actually guess it, but he had his fears as well, and challenges coming in, you know, even with money. But he never doubted the fact that one day he'd be a very wealthy person, and that's that innate belief that we're talking about. And I know last time we briefly touched on it, that, you know, you'd always had that very positive belief of yourself being successful and doing what you want to do. Were we talking in terms of entertainment with yourself?
You got a very sharp mind. Oh my God, you remember that? Yeah, I was just gonna bring that up. I had a sense, like an absolute sense, that I was gonna be famous. I was gonna
Yes,
be
yeah.
a movie star. I thought, you know, because I was thinking in terms of those days, that who was famous that I like, movie stars, right? They got, you know, they got. Yet, you know, when I look at myself now, I am, and it's not in the way that as a movie star, but I am in the terms of speaking in public, talking in public, connecting with people, always driving. I was driving not for popularity, but because if my personality can get out the message that I want to give,
Yeah.
that's fine. I don't want. It's not on me that I'm the vehicle for something greater to happen in the world, and that's the fame that I felt that because I could feel energetically that's what I was feeling then is what I know now that this is what I am living the life of exactly what I'm supposed to do. I wasn't meant for anything else. Movie star, no, definitely not that. But this is just right.
Hey Gary, there's still time.
But I don't think who knows. But but I'm really living. Look at Dr. Emma Marlin, our guest, her book "Out of Your Comfort Zone," that breaking boundaries for a life beyond limits, and I feel like I've arrived, and it's just been kind of moved along in some ways that synchronicities and things just happen that I just took advantage of and moved with and just I could write a book about all the things that have happened that it was like it was meant to be. Things were put on my doorstep. I didn't I just went along. But it wasn't by accident. Nothing was by accident. It was like it was destined.
Yes.
And I really believe that. So I feel that anybody that's listening right now about what they feel, look at what you really, what are we here for? What do examine that. What is it that you want that feels more you, right? What does it feel more you, right?
Exactly, and that's what I talk about as we go, because as you know, the book's incremental, so it starts with talking about any kinds of fear, from natural fears and instinctive fears to the irrational fears, the ones that really hold us back. But it takes us through and talks about all the factors that we need for an unstoppable mindset, so we can align ourselves properly with our true core blueprint. And we have the life discovery model in the book, so people can really go through that. Once they've ripped out any negative emotions, fears, limitations and holdbacks, then they can start to look at, actually, who am I? What do I really want in life? And what's my blueprint that will really make me happy? Because if people aren't generally feeling happy at the moment or fulfilled in their lives, then you're not aligned with your blueprint. It's really that simple, that you've probably been swept along with life, and you may be doing a job simply because your parents have done that job, so you do something out of necessity rather than actually thinking, what's my passion? What do I really want to do? And certainly I tell the story in the book as well. When I was 14 years old, I had few teachers say to me I would make a very good barrister, and I was then encouraged along that path in law. So I went to go toward all the study to do that, and then I went to law school, and lots of things were happening at the time. Incidentally, I was very, very ill with a rare genetic condition as the symptoms were coming out. So it's almost as if life was trying to steer me in a different path. But anyway, I didn't I did resist that, and I did keep going with it. But then, when I got older, I realised, actually, law isn't for me. It doesn't fit with my values in terms of how the legal system works, really, and how much I was able to help people. But what's interesting, when I was as early as I can remember, I used to just want to help people, and I always wanted to be a doctor, however that might be. I think at the time I used to like watching the medical programs, so I wanted to be a medical doctor. But in any capacity, as I'm now a clinical one and able to help people, the fact is I just wanted to be able to really help people and really change lives, and pretty much like yourself, deliver that. And as Tracy Ash says, a light warrior, to be able to put out there and get out there your positive message in the world of, all the good positive things and all what we're as human beings capable of achieving. But going back to the point, because I so easily digress with all the different topics that we can cover, yes, when I was 4 I had this innate ability, and that I wanted to help people, and I knew, because I was a very intuitive child, that's what I really am going to do, that's what I'm going to be. And I always had this slight feeling of, again, not wanting to be famous, but that I would be known, almost a very similar sense to yourself, I think. But as I went through life, and things started to happen and change, and I did have limitations, because it was the fact when a teacher said to me I would make an exceptional barrister, because somebody was encouraging me and telling me I was very good at that, and my confidence had been slightly knocked at the time. That made me go in the direction of law, when actually that really wasn't for me. So had I not had that limitation, I would have probably already followed the path a lot earlier in terms of what I do now. But that didn't happen, because obviously I needed to gather more resources, and lots of other things happened, and that makes me good at what I do today, because I've had all those experiences and been through them. But in terms of aligning with our blueprint, we can do that, and the book does help us to do that and discover what we really want and who we are, especially as we get to the latter chapters. They get really exciting, even in terms of how we can actually determine our own future in terms of all the quantum physics. So that is phenomenally exciting, that is very much a no comfort zone area, because not a lot of people are willing to explore that, and they can get very scared by it, because it involves the intangible rather than simply the tangible. So that's why the book set out as it is, so people can lose their fears and lose inhibitions or limitations before they get to exploring the quantum world, which is just phenomenally exciting.
You really, like you mentioned, especially in the back of the book, the chapter determining direction, and you ask questions. You ask a lot of questions. You ask us to ask these questions of ourselves,
I
and I
do.
think it's, and it really helps us, because you mentioned that in the right state, you're right. Whenever and whatever a situation may be, being in the right state will always help. Have you ever experienced something that has seriously annoyed, distracted, or demotivated you, and which has been made, and which then has made it exceptionally challenging to quickly and positively refocus, because your mind is still in a negative state? If you have, you know exactly how unhelpful it is. So, and it goes on and on. So you will help us out with these questions, and what does it mean to be that? What question yourself? This I think is much needed in the world. We're too focused outward. We're too focused on what the other person is doing. We don't really examine what is our talent. What can we do? I discovered very early on that I had a voice for. I didn't realize I had a voice for radio right away, or that I could do this and start. But once I was put in a situation, I worked with it. I studied it. I remember coming to the radio station, the DJs that were on. I was saying, wow, I was marveling at them. I was thinking, you were doing is fantastic. I studied the way they talk to people. I studied their techniques. And I realized how masterful I thought they were. And in time, I started getting confident. And then not only at the radio station, I started studying interview style.
Fabulous.
Yeah. So this has always been I was just fascinated with this whole process of doing an interview. I still am. I have a number of people I have a great deal of respect for the work that they do, and I pick up on some of it and use it.
And an excellent job you do as well. I can tell, but that's again, it's going on your path, and as you said initially, what got us talking to where we are now is the comment that you put on Facebook about following the path of no resistance, and doing so and going with all the things that have happened in your life to get you to now has actually got you to where you initially, when you were younger and always had that feeling, has got you to where you want to be, and what's the right blueprint for you, and doing something that you absolutely love. And obviously when any of us do the things that we love and do what gives us joy, it creates more of that in our lives. And that's a lot what I talk about in the book as well. But that's fantastic how you got to now without actually planning it. So I'm thinking, is that actually a lot of what's behind the comment that you actually put on Facebook?
Yes, and I, for a great deal of my life, felt to be the effect rather than the cause of. I don't see that anymore. I feel like, yes, I'm influenced. I can be influenced, but I'm not. It's not my. I allow it, and I understand it. In the past, I didn't feel there was a way out. I
Brilliant.
felt that I was trapped. I was absolutely trapped in the reality that I was in, and it was the reality that was inferior to to any kind of masterful state. And yet, even so, even with that, there was something within that I was different from people. I didn't follow the path that most people followed. I knew there was something special for me. I didn't know what, but I kept on looking at it. I kept on practicing. I started meditation. I started investigating this. Started investigating that. And it was that inner drive to discover what it is that brought me to the reality that I find is most applicable to who I am.
Brilliant. So essentially, when you started trusting the process of life, and your ability to then explore things, it guided you in the right direction to then where you needed to be and help you out of that.
Yes, indeed. And I look see when I read your book, Out of Your Comfort Zone, I think of I was out of my comfort zone for so long,
Yes.
and I reckon but I couldn't accept that this was me. I had a lack of self confidence, and it's amazing I got to where I am now, really. But I really feel that there were people that came along in my life that that I felt that helped me along the way. That the circumstance they presented things, they presented opportunities, I think when you look at anybody that's successful, well, yourself and anybody that has been successful doing what they love to do, there's like an unquenchable thirst or desire to achieve that, you know.
Yes,
And,
absolutely.
and I think, yeah, yeah, you see that, right?
Oh, can you still hear me, Gary?
Are you still with us?
Hello?
Uh,
Oh,
okay.
can you hear me?
I thought I lost. I want to go back to your book for a little bit here. You write on what's the big idea chapter? Choose to create a positive internal reality. Choose to create a positive. That is the stories you tell yourself and how things play out in your head, how you perceive and see things. Therefore, how you think and feel about life. And when and then this causes your external reality, the outside world, to change accordingly. And and then you write there's more specific detail about this in chapter 8. And you write, in a nutshell, this is about knowing you can take control rather than merely responding and reacting to your external world and letting that determine your internal state and entire life. That's what I was just talking about, right? I felt
Absolutely,
that
yeah.
I was being at the effect of, and rather than merely responding and reacting to that what I thought I was at, because this is the way my response was in the world. I just took control, responding and reacting and letting. So knowing that you can take control. And I think that is the key, knowing you can take control.
Sure, well, that's a perfect example of how you've described yourself through your journey of life. And a lot of people will relate to that because when people come and see me in practice, a lot of the time they are also on the effect side and feel that things are happening to them that they can't control and they have no control over. And as we all know, because everybody's been at that point in their lives where so much unfortunate horrible things can be happening at the time, you literally can feel drowned by it as if there's no way out. But when we have that deep positive core about us, we will then be able to get out of it. There's always a way of getting out of it because we'll attract the right things that we need in our lives, and the right people will present themselves at the right time to show us opportunity, and then it's up to us, and we have the choice then, what I call change windows, to make a different decision to go, actually I'm going to take that opportunity, or I'm going to think differently there. I'm not going to keep thinking negatively. No, I'm going to break this cycle and I'm going to make that different decision, and I'm going to behave differently, or I'm going to befriend that person that's presented themselves who might then show you another path. Or people listening to this conversation might feel trapped and relate to all this, but then they might make the decision to actually go and explore the free zone test. They may then buy the book, they may then read it and learn a whole new way of thinking and being, and methods on what they can then attract into their life, and that could just be the bang change that they needed that then turns their entire life around. But that comes down to their law of attraction and their point in making that different decision to not just listen to something like our conversation, but to actually act upon it and do something positive and take those actions in their life to think differently and be guided on the right path to realign with what their true positive core is and true positive blueprint really is. So your examples there are just perfect of what happens a lot of the time in life, and I guess what we all experience at some point, but it really does come down to then thinking, I'm not on the effect side. We all have the ability to change things, and that can actually just be just by thinking differently and changing our focus. So instead of keeping thinking, oh, why do bad things keep happening to me? What if this bad thing happens? What if that bad thing happens? We actually start thinking differently. Actually, what if this positive thing happens? Or we keep saying to ourselves, actually, this is going to happen, focusing on what you want to happen. What can you do about a situation rather than what can't you do about a situation? What positive things do you have in life that you can be grateful for, as opposed to all the things you're really not grateful for? And as you start to turn your focus around on all the positive things, you'll then find that you start to attract more in your life and more of the things that you actually need. Whereas if you keep your focus down on all those bad things and it keeps spiraling like a black hole, you'll just keep attracting more of those, and that's what locks anybody in. And it's just not the empowering side to be on. It's like being the victim constantly, and that really doesn't help. But it's a really interesting... Sorry, Gary, I'm going on again.
No, that's great. No, it doesn't help in being the victim. I want to say something about you, Em. Your life has been amazing, and I hear you've done a lot of work. You've metaphysical research and etc. You could have done that to reverse and physical health conditions, including the current reversal of two personal chronic health conditions, using yourself as the primary lab rat. So
Yes.
you definitely have had experiences that where you have reversed a negative destructive into positive growth. So it's like a transmutation or an alchemical process almost that takes place, where you as like a reading here, as using yourself like a You know, I mean, this is, and, you know, that's how you know it for yourself, because you experience it, not because somebody said it, not because you read it in the book, because you know it, you experience it, and that's the beautiful thing, and I think that's why you and I really are clicking here, because we really have that, both of that, you know, that we've had these challenging, deep, challenging situations in life, practically, for myself, practically destroyed me, physically, and mentally, and spiritually. And yet, I've turned every one of those things around. And I don't see it's just me that turned it around. I believe that you get help, spiritual help, when once you make the decision where you want to go. I believe that there is some kind of whatever you want to call it, some unseen help that maybe that's us too, that we just are discovering.
Absolutely, and I think responsibility, self-responsibility, is another one of the key factors I talk about, you know, with this mindset where you can overcome anything. It really does start to, it might seem a very small thing to, you know, stop being a victim and take responsibility and start thinking differently of, hey, I'm in control of this. I don't have to suffer it anymore, and there's always something I can do. The minute somebody knows that and they keep saying that to themselves, because another point is that we live in the yes universe, where life, good, bad or indifferent, whatever thoughts we're having, whatever you believe at your deep core soul, the universe says yes to. So if you think you're not good enough for something, then the universe is just going to go, yes, well actually you're not, so you know, you're not going to get X, Y, and Z what you really want. So hence I always talk about that deep core belief is very important, and this ties in with the self-responsibility. And I'm sorry to hear all the things that you've been through yourself, Gary, but the I'm sure they've given you so many learnings, and it's testament to you, to where you've got to now and how you've gone on your personal journey with all the things that we talk about, which is phenomenally amazing. So well done to you for all that. Likewise, but certainly, yeah, I can absolutely relate to you with everything, because especially with health, because I was very young when I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and actually at the time there was one nurse that said to me, this condition will never affect your life, you live a perfectly normal life, you've just got to inject for the rest of your life. Which, although injecting for the rest of my life, I didn't actually believe at the time, because I thought to myself, even as a 10-year-old child, no way, I'm going to take responsibility and I'm going to cure this or reverse it. And then there was another nurse that actually wasn't on the side of responsibility, and she was saying, oh, this will be very scary for you, and you will have some problems when you go back to school, so you need to go on a diabetic holiday with some other children, and your friends, you know, you won't feel the same as your friends when you go back to school. And she was very much putting inside my mind of how I could have been a victim with diabetes. Now fortunately I was a very resilient, positive child deep down, so I actually said to her, there's no way I am going on a holiday with a load of other diabetic children, because I want to go on holiday with my friends on the school residential trip actually. So I took responsibility straight away, and it was never ever to see diabetes as the problem. And although I've had all kinds of things in my life, particularly with this genetic condition, I was being sick with acid 3 times a day, I was putting on an extra dress size in weight at the end of the day, there were so many things. I've been in a coma, I was told I was going blind at one point, and despite all these things I said no, there's no way I will accept that. And I took the personal responsibility to then, right, what can I do about it, even against all the odds and all the horrible things that they put inside your head in a medical context with something like diabetes, that is really like it's doomsday every day, and you only have to go on a diabetic forum, and there are so many people you will find that are on the effect side of life where it's just doom and gloom, and they don't believe they can get out of it or do anything about it. They would think something what I'm talking about is some conspiracy or some con. Yeah, I've even been banned from a forum before because people don't like to take responsibility, because it's the harder side of life to be on. But God knows, when you're on that harder side of responsibility, you're so much more empowered, because you know that there's always something you can do about whatever you're going through, and you'll appreciate and be grateful for it, because you'll know it's for a very strong reason to guide you in the right direction.
I think we're given these challenges. Thank you, Dr. M. I think we're given these challenges on Earth. The fortunate ones are given these challenges, actually, because then we have to work through it. But once we do, we're in a much better situation. Once we break through these things than before, life-threatening, right? Life-threatening situations that we thought would doom us, emotional, and all kinds of situations where we questioned whether whether we're going to make it, and yet we pull something out of us, and when we do, we empower us beyond the situation, so that we're not afraid of it anymore, and we become more than the situation itself. Then we recognize we are not all these things that happen to us. We are not the victim of all these things. We are empowered, and our life is in our hands. It's a great feeling to discover that, but you don't discover it unless you go through the challenges and understand that you've made it, you've done it. I can think of people that in sports, for instance, you hear about, well, there's sports, these success stories where they weren't, skinny run, makes it in the NFL, or it makes it all the way, or becomes a real star, that wasn't considered so. And so there's so many of these success stories that you can see, and it's very elevating to know about them. I want to share your website. Is your website? Can people go to Out of Your Comfort Zone as well .uk?
Yes. If they go on outofyourcomfortzone.uk, that's where you can take the free zone test, read about Out of Your Comfort Zone book, and also it's got links to my personal site, my practice site, and Mind Body Diabetes, although that's just being launched at the moment, the latter one.
I know you mentioned Warren Buffett earlier, and I love that what you've created in your book is just amazing. And I want to share it before we go. Just a couple more things about making your life great, and what each letter of great means. Just shortly, goals and outcome, establish clear, specific, and determined goals are responsibility, personal responsibility, not reasons, and then E, emotional well-being, ever positive, humorous mindset. I love that humorous mindset part. That's beautiful.
Oh, that's so important.
I laugh a lot. I've always had that within me, very humorous and almost comical with myself and other people. If I can't be that, if somebody doesn't want to have laughs with me, we're not going to go on too much longer.
Yes.
A, awareness and absence of panic. I love that. It's beautiful. We have a lot more to talk about. T, total unshakable belief system. It's just, and I really have that, and I really do have that. I don't believe that challenges or whatever happens that I'm stumbling along, and so I've even recently, Dr. M, situations with I had two herniated discs in my lower back.
Ouch.
And I had an accident at work, and it is, I've seen a chiropractor throughout the years. It's been almost 20 years, and at times I'll be debilitated to the extent there's so much pain I hardly could bend over, and I hardly could over walk down the stairs. You can never get in my car. But this doesn't happen all the time. But I always have some, it happens and I get over it. And so I've gotten over it so many times already that when it happens, it doesn't cripple me mentally. And when that happens, okay, what can I do? How can I walk where I can get around? So I look at ways to succeed even amongst these situations, and eventually I work my way out of it.
Sure, that's fantastic. And I'm sorry to hear that you had that accident and that's, where you've had pain and challenges you've had to overcome. But it's marvellous how you've been able to adapt and overcome that and not be on the victim side and take yourself forward. And certainly all those of the great acronym we've just talked about are what's present in everybody that does overcome things, that does make those phenomenal achievements, that has phenomenal success in any context of life, whether we're talking about sport, health, wealth, business, anything. And it's interesting how you could relate to having a lot of those attributes yourself. And I know I talk about having an ever positive attitude and humorous mindset, which is again a really important one because it does help you to get through. And also I can tell you have that brilliant humorous side, and I love your laugh, which is great because it just radiates out. And also it's important for anybody to know that the more positive we are, the more we can laugh and we can feel joy and excitement. It generates endorphins, which are the body's natural morphine, so intrinsically they are our pain relief. So that's why it's on there, and I think that's innately why a lot of people have those as part of their mindset, because it gets you through. We have to learn not to take ourselves too seriously as well, which is something I have on my Twitter, that I don't take myself too seriously, because a lot of people on there and things, they do, and it's meant to be sociable and for putting positive messages out there to actually do good, not to take ourselves too seriously and get bogged down with things and have all this new age fear circulating about. So again, going back to the beginning, what we're talking about with what you put out on Facebook, that's fantastic because it's spreading the positive message again, and you'll be helping so many people by doing that, along with the radio show as well, which is just great. So everything for a reason, in terms of yourself, in terms of what you've developed and how you've really got all those great attributes that we've just gone through and talked about, and even the awareness and the absence of panic, because despite whatever any of us are doing in life and whatever challenges happen to us, it's important we have that absence of panic as we go through the process, because sometimes things don't always go according to plan. Even in my reversal of diabetes and all the research I do, I've had certain setbacks. I have to go back to the drawing board and think, why has that happened and what can I do to get over it? But I can never panic about it. Or when I was reversing after I'd been told I was going blind, certain physical things sometimes happened, and I had to be so calm and never panic and trust in the process and trust in what I was doing, that actually it would be ultimately alright. And hence it is, and I'm where I am now, because panic would help nothing. It only clouds the mind and gives us a brain fog. And it's like yourself with your back, not having that panic and looking at actually what can I do here about it, and having that self-awareness to actually know that and know what's going on. Because the more we have a deep self-awareness of our feelings and our emotions, the more we can tackle them to be able to release them and push ourselves forward. And that's again the real middle of the book that I talk about, is how people can release and let go of traumas, of pain, of nasty things that have happened, so that they just become experiences rather than having attached negative emotion. And at that point, when then you can look back and just see them as merely experiences, as positive learnings, they become wisdom, and that's that wisdom we've both been talking about that really carries you forward and really pushes you on to get what you want in life, which is the ultimate aim.
Thank you. And then you're in a zone. You become almost like in a zone where you know that you're unstoppable. That you're going to succeed no matter what comes along. And and you have no fear. It's beautiful. What happens? I would never think that I would be. Yeah, I did think. I knew it actually, but I had to go through these challenges, like you had to go through the challenges. We could talk about this forever. It seems.
We could.
So let's set another date if you'd like, Dr. M. We'll do this off air for our next time to talk. Okay.
Absolutely, that would be fantastic.
Wonderful. You've been marvelous as always. This is the second time we've talked, I think, and looking forward to our next conversation on the radio, and I'm sure those listeners, and I'll let them know after we set a date off air so they can put it on their calendars. Okay.
Absolutely brilliant.
All right. Thank you so much for being with us, Dr. M.
No, thank you.
Out of Your Comfort Zone is the name of the book. OutOfYourComfortZone.com. And remember, you can take the tests, the tests that are in this book, and they're marvelous. And thank you all for listening to In the Spirit on WRPI Troy.